there. Thank you. Recordings in progress. Wonderful. Um, Thank you everyone for joining us. It's great to be with you online. One day we'll be able to do this in person. That'll be great. But meanwhile, hopefully we provide you with an interesting session. Several things I'd like to talk about today, and the kind of a very rough agenda, because this is a very free-form session where we're really very open to answering questions or anything you want to know about ROS vision mixers or video switches and what they mean to us at ROS, you know. And trust me, and you can probably see it from the slide, I don't like to hide number of slide things, so it's a very short presentation, absolutely not death by PowerPoint. Just to go through what machines we have, how we regard vision mixers at ROS, what our latest developments are, and why we went down that road, and what do these machines mean, particularly in terms of operation. The people who are online with us today. I managed to then coerce some free gifts from our marketing team who have raided their cupboard. So we'd like to tell a little bit about that. And then after that, we're over to Chris Floate, who's in a studio in Reading, surrounded by all plethora of different equipment, ready to try and react quickly to whatever questions or things you'd like to find out about. And really, I'd say, please make this as interactive as possible, and do speak to us or ask anything you've been wondering about, or a particular facet of our vision mixers and things. Anyway, I'll carry on to the next slide. And first of all, what I really wanted to do is share with you what vision mixers mean to us at ROS. And there's one of our first machines that we ever had. And when the company was started by David Ross's dad, this is one of the machines that was there when David Ross joined ROS Video, started up ROS. He designed some of the circuits and stuff as well. So vision mixers and video switches mean a lot to us at ROS Video. They're really part of our DNA. And trust me, whenever we bring out a new one, a few months ago now, I guess, towards the end of last year, we released a new control panel. Everybody, including David Ross, and everybody examined every fader, every button, where things were, what we could do to improve, etc. It really is part of what we do at ROS, and it's something we're quite proud of. So, this is where it started. Where are we today? Well, we've got quite a range of machines today, and everything going from the small, on the left-hand side, carbonite black solo, which is a small, tiny machine, and every studio should have one. Fantastic get out of jail type small mixer, very useful as sub mixers and things like that, chroma keys, etc. And then we move on right up to our large acuity type solutions. And I'm not going to go through every single one. Suffice to say, there's kind of two ranges of machine. There's a graphite, the carbonite range, and then there's the acuity range of machines. And that's the kind of things that we have focused on. And there are different machines, different sizes, different applications, things like that. In the carbonite range, it's MEs, mini MEs, clip players, canvas, custom controls, dashboard, and it's all about real flexibility and power and quite a modest sized machine. In acuity, we're talking about huge machines, 120 input type machines, multiple MEs, huge number of outputs, very heavily used in some of our large applications where we need masses of input, masses of outputs for all kinds of different reasons, and a lot in stadiums as well. That's how the two ranges, fall out. And then we brought out some new products which you may have heard about, you may not have heard about, and we kind of released them when it would be early this year. And when we were looking at the new products, just to explain a little bit about the background, because the new products, which are Altrix Acuity and Altrix Carbonite, are a little bit different, both for us and in the industry. So, what is it we wanted to do? Well, customers were asking certain things of us. First of all, they needed HD or UHD. We need to be able to work in either of those. But most importantly, particularly with the new machine, when we switch to UHD operation, I don't want to find everything quartered. I don't want to find all my resources disappearing because they've been used to give us a UHD functionality. So that's one thing we wanted to do, is when you switch between them, we don't want to lose a lot of functionality. As some of you might have experienced as well now, we're living in a world where SDI is there. We've got a lot of people looking at SMPTE 2110 IP type connectivity, and then fiber and things like that. So they're saying we want to be able to look at these things, whether we use them today or not sure. Maybe it will be SDI right now, but I tell you what, in 2 years' time, maybe we want to go with IP connectivity, maybe we want to go with fiber connectivity. And so that's something that is important to people, that they needed something that would actually stay with them for a little while. And then we talk about flexibility, expandable resource, change things as required. We need something that we can buy for today and then use tomorrow, and then change what we need. And so with this in mind, what we did is we said, well, we've already got, and some of you may be familiar with these, some not, we've already got a really powerful, very popular routing and audio video processing platform called Altrix. And we've actually, I've said a 2RU or 5RU. There is a 1RU, but for our discussion today, I'm focusing on the 2 and the 5RU machines. So they're fairly large routing and, as I say, audio video processing platforms as well. So and not only are they routers, they also have multiviewers, frame syncs, and they actually were all designed to work natively in 12G, so in UHD, and they also support HD operation. And you can put audio mixer into them, and as well as that, they have a great, because they're a routing system, there's a lot of connectivity in terms of SDI, IP 2110, and SFP cages and things like that, if you want to connect to fiber and stuff like that. So we thought, actually, what a great idea it would be if we use these routing systems and we put switcher or video mixer boards into them to make them into a routing system with a video mixer built into it. And hence was born Altrix Carbonite and Altrix Acuity. And these machines are now shipping. And essentially what we've done is, you may see in the left-hand side, the Altrix Carbonite, for example, and forget the top board for just one moment. The next 3 boards they're all SDI, so they're all standard SDI, whether it's HD or UHD. And then the top board is what we call an SDPE card. And that is what makes it a carbonite. So what we've done is we've put carbonite into our routing system, so it's Altrix and carbonite together. And in our bigger machines, we've put in Altrix Acuity, so those boards can go in there and become part of our Acuity video mixer or video switcher range. So that's the kind of things that we did. We used everything, all the power of Altrix, and then we added some vision mixer, vision video switcher and magic into it all. So what are the benefits? Why on earth, would you do this kind of thing? Well, so we've taken the benefits, the connectivity of all the things that Altrix offers us, as well as that in terms of benefits. We talked about all the connectivity, everything, so that's fine. In addition, because the video mixer, video switcher is separate to the routing system, normally you have lots of cables connecting to them, between them. However, when you've got them together, there's a huge amount of cabling that's no longer required. So in a larger system, a larger typical system, you could easily save, say, 60 BNC cables, which is a lot of weight, a lot of space, a lot of cost, a lot of engineering and requirement there. So that's one benefit. Of course, because they're squeezed into the tiny our Altrix systems, which are 2RU or 5RU in terms of the switcher application, they're really quite small. So 5RU is really quite small and compact. And partly because of that and also the way it's been designed. They're also really low in power consumption. And it's interesting over the past few years as trucks have become more compact and also people are very focused on weight, size, and power consumption, increasingly so. So this is something we were able to address as well. Of course, operationally, more interesting to us today, what does that mean? And what that means is nothing actually. In an Altrix carbonite, the vision mixer video switcher part works just like a carbonite does. So if you've used to, so around about 50% you've used carbonite before, it operates just like a carbonite touch drive, etc. The router just works like an Altrix router. And so no change there. And the same goes for acuity, no change there. And for those that have taken the leap and actually done it as well, I would strongly recommend looking at Dashboard. So if you've already used Dashboard, thank you. This will already work with Dashboard. And for those that don't know, Dashboard is a kind of a control system that you can load on any computer, and it's built into a touch drive control panels. And you can get comprehensive control of your vision mixer from that. It's a free download. So if you haven't already got it, please do visit the Dashboard page on our website and download it without any cost. And you can use it to control a variety, all of Ross products, as well as other third-party ones as well. And it's nice to see what's around about it. And I mean, in our demonstration today, Chris will have Dashboard set up to control things as well. And Trevor mentioned to me, and just going off piste in terms of the actual presentation here, and we're looking at remote production, and many people haven't used remote production just yet. Dashboard, because that offers you the ability to control your machine, it also offers you the ability to do remote production using Dashboard as well. And when the pandemic lockdowns really started, we were all scrabbling around trying to keep customers on air and get programs out. And the Dashboard allowed people very quickly to switch into a remote production mode. And that was really very powerful thing to use. And again, I'd strongly recommend you have a look at Dashboard just to see what it does there. So that's about enough in the presentation and talk and things, apart from one last thing I should mention. We have continued, and we started this a few years ago at one of our trade shows that we go to. And what that is we still have some socks. I'm not sure that's this particular model we have. We have version 1, 2, 3, and things like that. So we'll be sending you a thank you email after this session. Please do reply if you're happy to give us a shipping address. We won't use that for anything else, but if you're happy to give you shipment details, we'll send you a pair of Ross socks just to thank you for your time here. I know we started giving them out in exhibitions because as you're walking around, trudging around exhibition halls, what better than a fresh pair of socks? But I actually found people really quite like them. And I know quite a few people around in our company won't wear anything else. But anyway, you're welcome to have a pair, and we'll send you out communication after this session. And do please get back to me. So with that, I'll take a look at some of the chat function and reply to any questions that come up. Meanwhile, I'm going to hand over to Chris. So thanks a lot. Thank you for being with us today. And please feel free to reach out. Trevor said just before in the preamble that sometimes the manufacturers don't speak to the operations people enough, and that kind of pains me actually. So if you feel that's the case, you'd like to find out more, you'd like to see something, I would always welcome communication, and we can spend some time online on a one-to-one basis. Happy to do that. But as I say, I'll hand you over to Chris now, and we'll try our best to deal with whatever questions you might come up with.
Hello. How are we all doing? Let me just do a few things to get the technicals out the way. with any luck, you can now see my little setup here.
We can indeed, Chris.
Excellent, excellent, good stuff. Well, welcome. So this section is really, I'm kind of throwing myself to the wolves here. Shout out, I'm open to all questions. It's about switchers, or if you want to widen the field, I'll try and go wider, but primarily about the switchers, whether it be the carbonite ultra. You will see I've got a camera sitting above. This is the touch drive panel here, and then on the other side also have that's the acuity, and that's the acuity panel there. So it's, I can give you a little overview if you like of the Ultra. I think most of you have come across it before. And what I cannot see at the moment is the chat window, so I haven't a clue.
I can see that, Chris. Don't worry, I'll take care of that.
Okay. So if I can ask a quick question, and if we get the first reply, I'll go through it. Would you like a little overview of the Ultra?
Not seeing any responses to that. But in the absence of anything else, that sounds like a great idea.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll start there, and then it might...
Rory said yes, please.
It might fire up your juices to give me some questions about whatever. So what you're seeing here, this is dashboard, connects to, as Raphael was saying there, that it connects to about 98% of our equipment, if not actually 100% now. And it kind of works in a typical PC fashion in terms of this, the tree on the left-hand side. You add bits of kit via the IP address of that bit of kit. And these are all APIs sitting within that machine. So all the information is drawn from that machine, including very, very useful panel. It's almost my, when I do training, I kind of start and finish on this particular panel, and that is this one here. You don't often see it in vision mixing desks, but this is a help file, and it's a kind of interactive kind of help file, and where you can type in, I don't know, DV box or something, how to apply a border on a box, and it will just give you step by step what buttons to press, etc. Okay. The idea behind it is not everyone can remember everything, but as long as you can remember where to go for that, it's half the battle, right? So that's there. It's also available online as a PDF, and you can pull it down, put it on your phone, whatever. And this we do that for all our switchers, including the acuity. So these sort of things, it's our door's always open for information. We've also got a ROS community now for other people to bounce off ideas about how to, and has anyone done this, and blah blah blah. Anyway, so if I can just jump out, I'll go full frame so we can go see it a little bit clearer, and jump back to, so those menus down the tree here, they're on horizontally here, so I can flick between them. And so go on the configuration side, and without going in too deep, these are, in terms of the Ultra, there are 24 inputs. Those 24 SDI inputs, those inputs, the text field, you type whatever you like in that text field, and then that will pop up not only on the mnemonic on the desk, but also in the multiviewer. Very easy to do. You'll see there's next two columns. These refer to whether you have a carbonite panel attached, a hard panel attached, or a touch drive panel attached. And the reason why these are separate is because the mnemonic on the touch drive, if I can take this away, I'm sure you don't really see me, and I can do things like that. Oh, that's a bit bright, isn't it? Hopefully that's all right. But you have things, so we have things like the icons, etc. And there, it's all these things, as you know, the less you have to think about when you're doing your show, in terms of where things are on the desk, the better it is for everyone, right? So that's the intention behind that that philosophy. And within these icons, there's all sorts of things, including I don't know if you're doing a sports production or something. Click on that. This happens to be a slow connection. That doesn't help, does it? I've got about 10 different machines connected here. But there's various sports icons and are generic icons and auxiliaries or whatever, or you can punch in an ME and all that sort of stuff. The rest of it almost speaks for itself, as in which is where you marry up your auto select key and what the GPO is doing, programming of that, or actually with the function behind it actually. So it likes that one I'm clicking on right now, input 7. If I put in that, for instance, every time I put input 7, it's going to trigger GPO 1. Okay. I've kind of moved on from GPOs up, but also in the Ultra, it's got the ability to frame sync. It depends on the license, but it comes out the box with 8, and you can upgrade it to all inputs. And you can even delay it, which is used for all our kind of VR stuff. Most used in that respect anyway. And this little panel here, within the live assist part, which I'll come to in a bit, you can bring in other panels from any panel from that said tree. You can bring inside it, so you don't need to keep jumping around. And you know, if you had a camera or something, or a server, the mirror, for instance, or the trier, or you know, any sort of other equipment that's in the tree, you can bring that inside. Again, it's all about making your operations easy to do. In terms of outputs, there are 14 outs, 4 of which are multiviewers, and the rest 5 to 14 are programmable to do whatever you like. So for example, my main program's on output 5. I've got another program on output 13, but let's say I wanted to make that a 720, or God forbid, even make it an SDI source. It's not an SD source. Hopefully we've moved on from that now. All those years of working in 4x3. And then that column there refers to the audio, because there is an inbuilt audio mixer. And this is all about whether you let it pass through, or you can customize it and say what channel goes where, and etc. So, I mean, I can go into that in a bit if you like, or shout out if you've got any questions about that. There are proc amps and color corrections in all channels. Very useful for, especially useful for, you know, an in-vision monitor, that sort of thing. So you can maybe feed an output with one of your mini MEs. Those who don't know what a mini ME is, it's just think of it as a half ME. So a normal ME has got 4 keyers, and a half ME has got 2 keyers. And just to on that note, the Altrix carbonite has actually got 6 keyers, and same, and the mini-me's got 2 keyers again, but the actual a main ME and the Altrix carbonite's got 6 keyers and 12 DVEs. The Ultra standard normal flavor, if you like, is 8 DVs, floating DVs. The on-air functionality, it's all just about tally lights and things, and what regions are going to get them. The multi-viewer itself, flexible. You're actually seeing one of them right now. Choose the layout you want. Go into click on the pips. There's also what's just been recently added is a little thing called shift source. So it's pretty cool. So you basically can, I don't know if it's been programmed actually. So that preview, I'll just do one on that preview. I'll put on my shift source, media 1. So you can see that sitting in brackets, or hopefully you can anyway. If I now press my shift, you'll see there's nothing in media 1, but if I press my shift, then the multiviewer will go to that source. So pretty cool if you've got, so you know, a lot of other stuff going on. Let's put that back to preview, because you kind of want at least your main program and preview to be static, as it were. The multi-screen, simplistically, is a screen spanner, and it's able to do up to 4 tiles. So whatever that is in raster. but it's basically each tile 1920 1080. So in all sorts of configurations, whether it be one big long line or a big square or whatever, and whether they go to the projectors, screens, whatever, that's up to you. And you also have a little thing down here, multiviewer follows, and that will turn one of your multiviewers into that shape of that that canvas. So all these tiles sit on a canvas, and then you can follow along. Okay, so I'm kind of flying through this, but at any point, I think Raf's keeping an eye on the questions and things.
Yes,
so
I am.
you know, just if what I'm saying kind of like sparks, oh, have a thought flies into your head, then you know, please ask away. This is very much a two-way thing here. I don't want to hear my own voice for the next.
So Chris,
Chris,
there is a question. Maybe you could make a comparison between this and your larger mixer, basically. You know, just to tell us what the Big Brother is doing and the sort of the full Monty, basically.
What the difference between a carbonite and an acuity?
Yeah, and maybe if you want, maybe go through some of the bits on the acuity. Just show us.
Sure. So, I mean, the main difference, well, it used to be the main difference was inputs and outputs, but with the advent of the Altrix acuity stroke Altrix carbonite, and one thing, I don't know if Raf actually talked about in his presentation there, in the bigger FR5 Altrix, you can actually put in a blade of an acuity, and you can put a blade of a carbonite in that same frame. So you can totally mix and match all within that box. Or you can, if it's an FR5, you can actually have up to 4 carbonites sitting in there. So think of a studio where you might have or a complex. So you might have 3 studios, for example. They could all sit in the same box, and they could all share the same resources. So think of the wiring that you're saving there. It's huge. Sorry, yes, I TV'd there. So it used to be about inputs. There's 24 out the up. It's as a general Ultra and the Acuity. The Ultra has 24 inputs and 14 outputs, whereas the Acuity is up to, I've got to remember my numbers now. In HD is possible to have 120 ins and 80 outs. That differs in HD world. For the Acuity, it basically divisible by 4. But in terms of the Ultra, and in the UHD world, 18 ins and no effect on the output, still 14 outs or 10 usable outs, as in, because 4 of them are used for the multi-viewer, right? But in the world of the Altrix Acuity, it all depends how many blades you have, or your I/O boards that you have, and whether those I/O boards are HD BNC boards or IP boards or mix and match, or I mean that's the beauty of it, really. Without going into the kind of the engineering side, because most of you they're not really bothered. What I will say is that at the front end of these bits of kit, same. So anyone who's familiar with the way a carbonite works and its user friendliness, then you will see no difference at all. In fact, well, you will in terms of on the plus side, because it's now got 6 gears. So it actually opens up some doors. So, and in terms of, let me just take, there's various ways of controlling the Ultra. Whether it be obviously via live at the dashboard that you're seeing I'm doing just now. You can even touch it here. So that background, click in that, and you'll get the whole buses, and that will change the output. Or you can do it, and you've got access to all your keys and all, etc. all in here. Or you can actually do it if I open up. And this is where the remote production has come in, really. I mean, this has been around for a long time, but people love this in terms of the remote production side of life, as Raph was talking about there. So you've got your switcher side of it in an L, and then you've still got all your the dashboard side in the middle here, fully functional. So you can do, I'll go back to the page that you saw before. Same, okay? And then up here, you're basically just, you're changing what this row is doing in this little section here. And that menu up here mimics basically the display that you would normally have on a hard panel. And these dynamic buttons, if I press home, those dynamic buttons there, they go into the system, the config, and et cetera, et cetera. Same principle as an actual hard panel. So it totally mimics a hard panel, but it's really useful for kind of home use, or even as an operator. If I've got a full desk, I quite often will put that in a screen in front of me, because I might have a two row, like a TD2, for example, obviously 2 rows. Then there's nothing stopping me in putting this to be one of my mini MEs and controlling that. So I've kind of turned it into 3 rows. All sorts of options available, very flexible. Let me jump out of this, far away.
Chris, in terms of, you might just remind me, in terms of sort of your frame store, or I'm not too sure what your correct title, what you call it. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could just sort of highlight, because I find this probably one of the most painful things. So importing sort of files of some sort for a flying key or for an animation, and actually operating that, if that makes sense to you.
Sure. Okay, that's cool. I will try and do it here so that you can see what I'm doing, as opposed to on the desk, although obviously you can do it on the desk. The one thing to point out is that the frame is the brain. So the dashboard is talking to the frame to tell it what to do. It's sending commands. And with all due respect, the TD panel is effectively, it's a push keyboard, and it's sending commands to that frame. So once you've got kind of that concept in your head, which is kind of almost the way that all desks are kind of going, or if not, they're not there already. So with that in mind, let me go to Live Assist page, and then go full frame. So within media, so there's 4 media stores. Each of those have an alpha associated with it. So just imagine a little to the right hand side of that, there's a M1A and M2A, etc. The little thumbnail here tells you there's a little key. I don't know how visible that is to you, but there's a little key symbol at the top left, so it tells you there's an alpha sitting there with it. Little movie symbol tells you that it's a sequence. Sequences are either PNG or a tagger. And if there's audio with it, you'll get a little speaker symbol sitting down here. Okay. So if I now go to in there and in trans and change this to be a media wipe, for instance, you can obviously do all of this on the desk itself. Do you know what I'm first going to do? And this highlights something. If I go back to media, is all this information down here about what you've got sitting in there. Tells you the amount of frames that are in there, tells you if there's audio or not. But one of the important things in there is number of channels. I've lost it. Oh, media number. There we go. I couldn't see it for the trees. That media number, which is extremely useful, partly to put it into this panel here. So I can do that and go in there, 66. So think of this as a little scratch pad, basically. You can do all sorts of things. It's got a couple of pages that you can pull up your most common whites instantly. But the important thing about the way we do our wipes is that the cut point, it actually resides on the metadata of that said file. In other words, if I put another file in there and then put this one back in again, that cut point stays true. So I don't need to make a gazillion macros or custom controls, as we call them, to do that transition for you. And in terms of actually doing controlling like where that cut point is, as I say, you can either do it on the panel, or if I click on that one, that little blue box, by the way, highlights which media store I'm actually controlling at the time. So if I press them, I use it as a media wipe. And for those who don't know, there is a little button down here. So in terms of your transitions, hopefully you can see that. Can you see that? It's probably too bright, usual shenanigans.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's okay. So that little button down there is a media wipe. So you obviously you solve your wipes, your DV, these are inbuilt DVs, or a media wipe. What that media wipe does is then talks to, is then talking to anything either in media 1 or media 2. I'm just caught up in wires now. And so if I wanted to edit that, you can actually do it on the panel just by pulling the fader, pressing media wipe and pressing cut. I will take that the cut point, or I'm just going to show you this way just because you'll see. So you choose what kind of transition you want sitting behind it. And then if I just move the fader bar, you'll see I'll do it obviously bad. I'll go there, cut it fader position. Taking it there. So you'll see that's jumped to 29 frames. Save, exit, move the fader bar to either end. And then I can actually run it here. You see that? I'll try and put something completely different behind it. Oh, hello. Someone, it's the joys about being in Reading. Someone has just jumped onto my machine. Stand by, please.
Not me, Chris. Not me. Not guilty.
Some pesky kid. Stand by. Let me see what's. Bear with. Oh no, that's there. Oh no, I lied. Actually, sorry, I got myself so confused there. What that is doing is actually it jumped to the live assist page. Remember, I was talking about the live assist, so I've just confused myself. Remember, I was talking about the live assist to bring in other pages. I forgot this was programmed to. I've just put my one of a Mira server channel on my preview, and of course, it's jumped to it. So, what was I doing? If I run that. Yeah, you can see that. And now what I'm going to do is go edit and do it properly now. I happen to know it's 40 frames. It doesn't actually completely disappear. But let's do that. And there we are. Save, exit. And now that should move that bar to one end. I'll run it there. And that's that. If I go back to the media stores, you'll see there's something, this is not quite updating. This machine is not updating as quick as I'd like it to. But you can hope you can see that that cut frame is sitting on 40 frames. So as I say, that's sitting in the metadata. You can even do little things like, so that puts like so that wipe there. It's quite slow. It's 64 frames long or something. So you could have a scenario where you could use that very same wipe in a kind of pres mode or in a replay mode, purely by changing the play speed. And you can bring that into a custom control to say, right, the first one's on play speed 1 and the second one's on play speed 2 or even play speed 3, whatever. So same wipe, and the clever thing is you don't need to change that cut frame. It knows. It still knows that that is the cut frame behind it. To take that a little bit further, let's go back to my AMEs and I choose this one. If I do a transition now, right, so there's a DV sitting behind that. If I go edit that and change it to be a dissolve, transition time, similar sort of thing, but now there's two because I want to, where do I want to start? Let's put it, it's moving the fader bar, put that there. I want it to start there. Actually, it might be where it is right now. There we are. And I want to move to finish, let's say about there. In transition. That is exactly where it is just right now. And save that. Yes, I haven't got the best connection to the machine on this particular machine. And now if I run that, it's taking those 2 points, there's a little dissolve behind it. And you can do the same thing, whether it be a wipe or, you know, a classic, if you're, you know, I know Trevor's a big golf fan, that traditional horizontal bar or vertical bar to track that. And I'm sure you've had many painstaking hours trying to match that up. But by doing this, you set your in and your out, it will track it. And it'll hold that bar.
Yeah, that looks really good, Chris. Just a question, and actually Rory came up with a similar thing.
Sure.
You might have mentioned it, but what is the storage capacity in
So,
relation to wipes? And obviously it might be related to the products as well.
Of course, right. Excuse me, I'm getting tangled up on wires. This is why I knew I wanted go wireless, but there you go. So sorry. So within, well, the storage capacity is basically limited by there's a little USB stick that you can sit on the back, or even a little SSD drive or something. That goes in the back of the machine, and that is, there's no kind of internal hard drive as such, but there is an internal cache, and that internal cache is 8 gigabytes. And so anything that I'd just go back to this media manager. For some reason, there we are. If I put one of these in, you'll see the first time it goes in, loading, and it's there. Now, so the first time it goes into the cache, it kind of like takes a second or whatever to get in there. Thereafter, once it's been in the cache, it's absolute instant. And that's the same for, you know, wipes, whatever. So it's an absolute instant recall. And that sits on the cache, but as far as how much media can be stored in total, that depends on the size of your USB stick. I tend to use anything between just an 8 gig stick or a 16 gig stick. The reason why I used to use a 4 gig stick, but the reason why I've kind of gone up is purely because within media, if I went live assist, within media there, there's a clip player that sits inside the Ultra, and this can be however long you like. It will plays MP4s, H.264s, and let me see what I can load in. I'll just load that in, play that, and hopefully I've got it on my desk somewhere. There. So I get all these little things. So you could use that, for instance, as, you know, some sort of graphical loop or something for your boxes, whatever it may be, you know, or a monitor or something like that, or some sort of monitor loop or whatever. But it's just that in itself is a useful little function. So back to your question, Trevor, about what the capacity is: USB stick, and then 8 gigabyte cache.
Sounds good.
And in terms of how to do the custom controls, that's always something that's people have fun and games with, really, or, you know, every desk is different about how easy it is and how easy or hard it is. I can assure you that this is very easy. Down here, so there's 2 sides to this. There's obviously the play outside, the shop box side, and there's the editor side. That state attributes is very, very underutilized feature, actually, and it's like taking a snapshot of the whole desk, but you define what parts of the desk you want to take, but then you just bring that in as a state, and that's it. So you don't need to go through the whole process of making a memory, then bringing that memory into a custom control. It sits within that custom control, the state of the desk. There's pros and cons. So I don't know what I've got in here to to kind of show you, let me just jump into something. So the actual custom controls themselves, there are eight banks. Within each bank, there are 32 slots. And this little thing down here, number of CCs running, currently 0. You can have, I always forget this number because it keeps changing. It used to be 28, and then I heard it went up to 64, but even at 28, that's more than enough. And that basically means that you can have 28 custom controls simultaneously running. And sort of the idea behind that is that you can have things sitting in a hold state. So imagine you've got a 2-box, whatever, it zooms out, hold it, push it back again, all in one custom control. In fact, I might see if I've got
so Chris,
anything.
are you able to control the clip player via custom control? Which is
absolutely. You can not only control it on the clip on here, on a custom control. You can, if I put that anything on the panel, I'll try and show you 2 ways of doing things. So anything on the panel, anything you press on the preview will take the GUI will follow along with you. If that said, if you are in Live Assist and that little button down there, that panel link, and what that does is basically anything you press on the panel kind of speaks for itself. So that's on, take it off, and it won't follow. So they're now independent. Okay, useful, and various things are useful. But what will always happen though, so if you pressed clip player here, you'll then get information in the display. It'll go straight to that queue. You can clips. I can toggle through them. 30-minute dots, so what background clip video test. Don't know what that is. Let's have a look. I'm going to queue that up and press play. Or I'll go one further, I'll press stop, like so, and I'll just show you another little feature, which is, oh, I'm going to get tangled up. This little feature here called roll clip. You can read that. What that does is, it's basically on or off, and what that does is kind of put a little bit of automation into it, if you like. So if I was on my Cambot and then I'm running to the clip player, and if that function there, roll clip is on, hopefully you can see the output top right box there. And if I did that media wipe on, I'll just do it as a dissolve. You see that runs. If it was off, then obviously it won't run. Just put that there and stop that. Do that and just press dissolve, whatever. Obviously nothing's going to happen, right? And you can define the pre-roll on that, so you avoid any still frames or whatever. And that little functionality, by the way, is also anything you have connected. If you have a server connected, we talk AMP with standard protocol, it will also control any of that sort of stuff. So you can bring in external servers and control all those. It's another great little feature that often overlooked, but it just kind of helps your production really, rather than the director having to shout VT, VT, and all that sort of stuff. So we've all been there.
In terms of panel and popularity, what would be the most popular panel that
size of panel? Yeah, probably this one. This is a 2S. It goes up to a 3, as in 3 rows. If you want, I can pull something up. I need to go into. Let me do that later because I don't want to get messy. But yeah, so there's 7 in total. Ranging from what's called a TD1C, the C being compact, and that is kind of, it's just a desk that's 1 row, but it's been squashed, and it fits in a flight case or a rack unit. That's the idea behind that. The TD1 is a 1 row, TD2 obviously 2 rows. There's a theme, eh? And then the S part of it means that it's got this dedicated memory module. Okay, not that any of the others can't recall memories, of course. It's just it's got a dedicated panel, a module on the desk itself.
I'll put the link up in the chat.
Marvelous, good stuff. And that's a similar sort of thing with the, I know I haven't talked about the acuity at all, but similar, we'd make various panels for the acuity as well, ranging from a 4 ME, or 4 row, should I say, down to a 1 row, and different kind of widths as well, depending on how many inputs you actually want available. I think, I can't remember what the lowest is. It might be 20 or something, but it can go up to like 40 buttons wide. And 40 buttons wide and 4 rows deep. So it depends, it's all about real estate at the end of the day. But on that note though, as far as the panels are concerned, any carbonite panel will control any carbonite frame. So as Raph was talking about, that there's various things in the carbonite family, like the graphite, and even the solo. So anything within that family, obviously the carbonite black plus, which you may have come across, is the predecessor basically to the ultra. But all these they're all interconnectable. They all talk to each other quite happily. And the TD panel will talk to obviously talk to the Altrix carbonite as well.
Great. So
that's your questions.
There's any more questions? Yeah. Just
does anyone want to know about audio, or do we not care?
No, I think a brief overview of audio would be great. Yeah. Because we don't get involved, right? Usually.
They're somewhere all through the window or something. We don't care about them. No, I do really. I jest. There are 48 channels of audio. They're all assignable. You can do what you like with them, whether they be, let me just go into the config of that. So you type in here what the source is. So there I've got these are SDI sources at the top here, and then it follows down, and you've got things like the ABM, and you've got media stores and the ABM there. What the ABM is, audio breakout module, and it looks like, hold on. Oh no, I'm on a short lead here. Okay. Looks like that, if you can see that. A bit messy in here, but there we go. That audio breakout module essentially turns, lets you bring in analog sources, and you can have up to 3 of them, which basically means you can have up to 24 inputs and another 15 outputs. One box is obviously 8 and 5. But very useful for, obviously pres stuff and all the rest of it. So in terms of the config part of it, in terms of the ABMs, you'll see these mapped 1-1, which is obviously taking the left-hand side. But let's say we go into one of the SDI sources. In fact, Mira is a good option. So being a server, so Mira A is taking channels 1 and 2, but there's nothing stopping me and putting, I'm not going to do it there. I'm just going to hide it down here just now so it's out of the way. But I could go Mira A and choose 3 and 4 for your mix effects or something. So I've now got 2 faders, both in Mira for 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And there you can do AVF, audio follows video. So as soon as you press a cut on the desk or even a mix, then the audio mix will do exactly the same. It will follow along with you. There's a compressor limiter on board, and there's a full EQ on board. So we had to jump out of that, go back to main. There's also another 12 auxiliaries, which obviously used for mix minuses or the pres or different all sorts of different any other audio feeds that you may wish. And so in likes of, if I was to take that source there, so you'll see EQ. I can either do it by going up and down, you'll see that follow, or I can actually pick it, grab it and place it wherever I want. And you'll see that frequency changes, and then the decibels obviously change accordingly as well. That's actually for the audio people. That's a really useful function to basically put, if you're making EQ changes, to put it in and out of bypass, so you can hear what differences are, what you're doing, or it's easier to tell anyway, right? And I'm just going to put that to default and come out of that. You've got a main out and there's a monitor out. You can actually hook it up to, we support a little Behringer mixer. We don't sell them, but we do support, as in the so the integration with it to then use it in dashboard, etc. And you can, well, you program it in dashboard, but to use it as in have a physical mixer next to you. Okay. Or you can obviously use this. Is that clear? Clear enough? Do you want me to go deeper?
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
Literally.
Cool.
One thing you might look at, we're sort of reaching about an hour in at this point, is, and you might or might be able to tell us, but is there any major future plans for things that might be in the pipeline the next little while that you can talk about? Or
there's always things. There's always things in the melting pot. For those who don't know Ross, I can safely say that we put more into an R&D than any other company. It's one of the benefits of being a family-owned business. There's no stakeholders to say, "Give me my money." Blah, blah, blah. David, he plows in. What was the last figure? It's in the region of about 80%. It goes back into the company in terms of development and all the rest of it. So we're continually developing stuff, whether that be features. So we're, there's continual upgrades, and on that note, all upgrades are for our switchers or vision mixers. I've turned American in terms of calling them switchers, as opposed to VIA or vision mixers. But all upgrades are free for the life of the machine, which it's forever. I know people who've had these mixers for 20 plus years, and they're still running quite happily. So that's a big thing, big thing, and including our tech support as well. Actually, we have free tech support. Our website, if you please have a look at it. That it's not your average website. I really have to say, because all the information is there in terms of the how-tos and manuals and this, that, and the other. Nothing secret. We won't ask you for DNA and all that sort of nonsense before we even talk to you. So we have a very much an open door. But it's back to what you're saying, Trevor. I can't really talk about specifics, but there's always things on the horizon. Always. Probably the latest in terms of the switcher world is concerned is this amalgamation between the Altrix and the switchers, putting it into one box, and it's proved to be extremely popular. We're getting numerous orders for that. So yeah, well, I mean, I don't know where you all work, etc., but certainly you'll see them out and about. In fact, even just fairly recently, I've had a few calls from a couple of people who've been using acuities and things. And we're fully aware that they're not everywhere in the UK. They are everywhere in the States, but they're not everywhere in the UK. And they're like, so you'll come across them and think, oh my God, what to do with this? Give us a call. Honestly, give us a call. There is the help file there, but our door's open. I'm more than happy to help to steer you in the right direction if required. I don't know if you want me to go there or not.
Just one question about dashboard. So obviously the world has gone remote with a lot of things in the last year or two, but you had dashboard around before that. Way before, years ago. Has that product been sort of upgraded or tweaked in the last while to accommodate?
Well, the accommodation part of it has always been there.
Yeah.
But we're always updating it. We're now on 9.2.1. There's always little tweaks sitting in there, whether it's about the lines of communication or the efficiency of the communication between bits of kit, etc. One thing that I suppose I can tell you that we are working on, because we've done some tests and it refers to remote production, is I've been sat in the Reading office and connected the panel directly to an Ultra in our Ottawa, which is our headquarters, and I've been controlling that via a remote panel, not just a soft panel as in dashboard, but an actual panel, cutting the frame sitting however many 1,000 miles away, and you'll be amazed how the lack of or how good the latency is, as in there's no latency issues. And even we even did these tests coming back. So the multiviewer part of it, I was coming back on looking at that via TeamViewer, and I couldn't tell. It's amazing. So, you know, as you go about your business, I think you'll find more and more productions are kind of getting done that way. That you'll be sat in a dark room, and all your colleagues will be sitting in a car park of some big stadium. Is that
so? One question here. Do you have plans to put some new control panels for the Acuity on the market? Okay, I know you might not be able to talk about it, but I'm not too sure the age of the Acuity panel at this point.
The actual panel itself, the panel itself is kind of tried and tested. If you want a personal opinion, I don't think it still looks like a modern desk. It's kind of just gone into shutdown at the moment. Well, not shutdown, but you know, hold on a minute. Let me do this. The actual panel itself, you know, everything's there. It's actually quite a very accessible desk to use. I think what you may be referring to, Trevor, is the likes of the GUI. That it's not. I don't know. We're so used to our phones and having these flash features and all the rest of it, right? The actual GUI itself. Let me try and go to which program do I want? I did have it loaded up actually. Oh, I thought it was loaded. Come back. Maybe I am loaded. So I'm VNC'd into the panel. So again, it kind of shows its remoteness. So this is talking to the panel itself. There's just little things which I think are pretty cool. So I think what we're looking at is, so that's ME1 key 1. That what you're seeing here, the 3 box that you're seeing, that's actually coming out of Acuity's ME1. And for each of those keys, it will give you a little diagram of what's going on. So it's not only a diagram where the position of where it is, but also the source of what's going in that, which, you know, as an operator, these sort of things are extremely useful. The software for this is continually updated. For instance, in the personalities behind it, it's just, the list is getting it's huge. The things that you can do with it. What we have brought in, for those who geeky, should I say, if I may say, within our custom controls, we've now brought in logic controls, which I think we're the only people who actually do that. So you can have things like if this then that. So if key 1 on ME2 is on, then do this, or you know, all sorts of permutations of that sort of that kind of thought process. So the Acuity itself, in terms of its what it can do in terms of its holes and the power behind its custom controls, is just huge. I think without exception, like any other desk, its custom control power is just quite incredible. So what you, yeah, I suppose if I'm being pernickety about it, in terms of a facelift, update these icons, and then suddenly lots of people will be happy because it looks, you know, a little bit more modern, I guess. But what do you want? Functionality over content, you know. a bit like TV programs, right? It's all presentation over content, you know. Personally, I'd much rather have the content. There you go.
So we don't really have too many questions
okay.
left, I think. So I think if anyone's got the last thoughts here, we'll just shut this.
I can talk sort of engineering things if you like, as well, to a certain level, if you like. If there's any, because I noticed at the front end, the poll, there was a few engineers on board.
Well, maybe just an explanation to Joe Blogs, which is me as a basic vision mixer, related to moving to IP and what that actually means. I know in real terms for the operator, it doesn't mean that much, but maybe you could be able to fill us in on a sort of little background on that.
It's still up for debate, really. Are you talking about whether an establishment should go IP or not, as the case may be? For me personally, I just still think there's no substitute for a piece of wire going from A to B, because it's a hell of a lot easier to fault find with a piece of wire than it is on some sort of switcher unit, etc. And I think where IP comes into it is basically distribution. So if you have a main hub and it's going, if you've got lots of sources that are all going out to numerous places, then IP is absolutely is great. But in your standard kind of your setup, you know, HD is far superior in my mind. Especially, I think when once upon a time when UHD kind of like first came into play, there was all our cables were only capable of 3G signals, if that. And I think that's where the whole conversation happened about, well, we need to do something about this. What are we going to do? And then the whole IP world kind of came into it. But now we've kind of like pushed forward in the terms of the cabling. In fact, it's arguably the cabling is thinner, but capable of taking even more data, 12G data. And that little bit of that for me was the main nugget of a change, really, to stay with copper. That said, one of the things with likes of both the Altrix acuity and the Altrix carbonite, you can have a blade that's fully populated with an HD. Each of those blades are, well, it's 16/16, but there's also another 2 aux ports, so you can actually take it up to 18/18. And then you can put in an IP blade into it, so you can totally mix and match, you know, depending on your setup. And I think that's one of the it basically future-proofs it, future-proofs it, stroke makes it versatile. But it's a debate it'll go on for years and years.
I think you're right there. Yeah, it definitely will. So what I'd like to say is thank you very much, Chris, for all your time. And
you're very welcome.
Bill. So what we will do is we'll send out an email to everyone.
Oh, these are the real socks, by the way. No pictures. These are the real ones. Real.